the morning of November 8th, not even 24 hours after she passed, springtime in Brazil. So as we drove up to the cemetery, they had this little tile cobblestone road in front of the cemetery covered with these big trees. They're called jacaranda trees. They've got these beautiful purple blossoms. And it was a cloudy day. It had rained all night before. And the ground was all fresh. All of these purple blossoms were all over the ground. And the hearse drove up on the little cobblestone road and waited for everybody to get out of their cars. And we all kind of got behind the hearse and walked down this little alley of purple trees. I was watching the family members one by one as they watched the car slowly drive up the lane. And these little girls, these are my grandnieces. Manu, short for Emmanuel, and Eliana. Hearse stopped at the entrance into the graveyard. The evening before, Eliana was laid out in her beautiful casket in a velerio. It's a wake, it's like a funeral home. And an advertisement went out across the whole city, so anyone who was monitoring social media would know that she had passed. And the wake goes all night long. It goes from 7 in the morning till the priest comes just before 10 and gave a beautiful eulogy for her. It was so poetic. He knew her, and he talked about how God used her through her art to touch people. And one of the amazing things that came out of it was that now she's painting the skies for God. I couldn't stay up all night. I was exhausted from all the emotion. But family members stayed there all night long. People from the city would walk right in, make the sign of the cross over her casket and leave, paying their respects. A few of us hung out on the street. Pallbearers put the casket on this cart where some of the graveyard workers wheeled it up this hill and over to the spot where they had prepared her tomb. I remember walking up this hill, and it was a really breezy day, but a nice warm breeze. And it was cloudy because it had rained all night. But the sun would come through every once in a while with these rays that would just cross your path. It was really surreal. So the workers weaved through this maze of tombs and mausoleums on the way to the place where they had prepared for her. When it was almost there, they took the casket and put it on top of this big piece of concrete, and they took the casket lid off so we could see Eliana one more time. There was no priest at this point, but some friend of Eliana gave a speech about how he was running this fundraiser. And Eliana came up with this idea about baskets going all over the world. I didn't understand everything of what he was saying. I just know at the end, everybody started cheering and clapping. And then it was as if everyone knew this was the last time that we could say goodbye to her. So one by one, the family members went and kissed her goodbye. And so did I. And it was hard. And then they closed the casket. I was really proud of Luana. That's Eliana's niece. She was strong. She stayed by that casket all night long. She greeted everybody that came there. Then the workers brought the casket by hand over to this concrete slab that they had laid some fresh red brick with a concrete top, and one end of it was open. And there was a wheelbarrow with some wet concrete and a stack of red bricks. And the workers slid the casket inside there, and everybody was quiet, and I didn't know what was happening. I thought there would be a priest coming or something, but everybody was just real quiet. And what was so amazing, this worker started taking bricks and scooping up concrete and started laying the brick wall in the opening. One by one, he took his trowel and buttered up each brick, put it in place as if he'd been doing it 1,000 times. And he continued the process. And I watched people as they just watched him close in the hole. And then they would slowly walk away and go back to their cars. A few of us stayed till all the bricks were completely sealed up. And then he added some water to the mix, and then he just took his trowel and concrete and he sealed all the bricks up nice and smooth with a fresh layer of concrete on the outside. It was just amazing. It was like closure in a way. The worker just sealed it up, and he took all of his tools in his wheelbarrow and he just kind of wheeled away. And then we walked up to the tomb and just kind of put our hands on it. And then we just, each one of us took a moment. I stood and looked out over the horizon, sort of looking at a view that she might have if she were actually here, but we know she's not here. She's in heaven. And then we went back down to the little cobblestone road with all the purple flowers, and it was just immediate family left. And they were all just sort of talking to each other, and me and the girls started picking up the flowers off the ground, making little handfuls of them and kind of throwing them around. They found a frog underneath the seat, so we were fascinated with this big toad frog. And then we started to walk away to go back to the cars. We were in this grassy area in the parking lot while family members were still talking with each other. I guess they were making plans. I didn't understand Portuguese, and I didn't really care about what anybody was saying. I was just watching the trees blowing in the wind, and we were looking at all the purple flowers in the grass, and somebody picked up this funny looking seed and brought it to me and said, "This is the seed of that big tree." And I said, hey, I want one of these seeds. I'm going to plant it at the house. And everybody knew what we were talking about. And all of a sudden, everybody started grabbing a whole bunch of seeds. They were going to plant jacaranda trees at their house too. We filled up our pockets with seeds and kind of looked back at the trees and the graveyard, and we got in the car and went home.